Hello, today we're going to talk about some Ubisoft stuff. And let's start with the fact that Atari has acquired five chiefly dormant franchises from developer slash publisher Ubisoft. Child of Eden, Cold Fear, Grow Home, Grow Up, and I Am Alive, which is quite good news in a one sense, and on the other sense, it just shows how Ubisoft has to make these choices is what I mean, because they are, let's admit it, not in the best financial situation currently. But it does bring in a new breath of life, so to speak, in these franchises that, well, quite frankly, Ubisoft has done nothing with them for a long time. So giving them to different developers that are interested in making uh, games in those set franchises is a good thing, is what I would think, because old fans get to experience the next game, or maybe at first will come some sort of a remaster in order to gauge whether audience is still there for these titles, and the next upcoming games after that might be better than the previous one, or it might just be around the same level, or worse. Anything can happen. Or it might be just one of those instances where somebody acquires licenses and does nothing with them. But as the next point I want to talk about is also some more info about Ubisoft. So let's start with a snippet of this article. This isn't the first strategic partnership Ubisoft has struck this year. Of course, back in March, Ubisoft created a subsidiary company based on its Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy Rainbow Six brands, with a 1.16 billion, approximately 1.25 billion investment from Chinese mega corp Tencent, and the 1.25 billion is dollars. Um, Now, strategic is a way to describe it, definitely, but let's be honest, they did it just because, well, Ubisoft found themselves in not that great of a situation, thanks to the fact that they've been ignoring players for years and virtue signaling continuously with games that nobody cares about. I mean, just take Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws. Those games flopped hard. And I know there are articles out there claiming it's the best seller, but then why do they refuse to release how much they sold, only how many players they have? Players are not sales. But let's continue. The company has also partnered with Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund for additional Assassin's Creed Mirage content. That's one of the decent Assassin's Creeds in the recent years, and having more content for it might actually be nice for the fact that the game wasn't actually that bad. But I wonder why Mirage was historically accurate and Shadows wasn't. Different mentalities, I guess. But let's continue. These agreements follow a number of high profile flops, layoffs, studio closures, and game cancellations in the run up to Assassin's Creed Shadows release, and there was enormous pressure on it to succeed after the company's share price hit a historic low. It reached even lower after its release, which is why I also think it wasn't that big of a impact sales wise. I mean, the game took a lot of time to make, plus there was a lot of people working on it. Yet you're telling me it recouped its price? I highly doubt it. It wasn't that big of a release, or even after release of sales, that would even remotely suggest that it made back its money or even made Ubisoft money. Otherwise, they would be bragging about it and released actual sales numbers like, I don't know, any other goddamn studio under this planet does. Well, let's continue. Despite their desperate attempt to make a comeback, Ubisoft still couldn't hit the mark with the recent Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows. While the latter was a success in the publisher's book, the same cannot be said for Star Wars Outlaws. And that's the thing. Shadows was a success in their books, but everybody can pretty much see that it was not a success. It was just another Outlaws situation where it actually underperformed, but let's just keep it up for our investors that yeah, it succeeded, because why not? Regarding sales, Ubisoft has kept the official sales numbers for these games close to its chest. That is, they've stopped sharing figures with other sources such as leading analyst firms Circana. Why it matters? For Ubisoft to stop sharing sales figures means that their recent titles perform poorly. Perhaps they're trying to control the sales narrative by not revealing figures and instead labeling the game's performance as good. And that is what I've been saying. The fact that they refuse to share any sort of numbers outside the fact that they have players playing, which means those are subscription services, free copies, paid promotions, those are all in players played, not copies sold. Just because you have a lot of people playing doesn't mean you made any money. That is why I still hold by it that Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Shadows did not succeed. Otherwise, they would have released the data as they've done previously. But they didn't. And that's the point. They're trying to control the narrative, they're trying to look good in the investors' eyes. So it's like, yeah, see, we're doing good, even though we're not doing good. And it's just for them as a tool to maybe avoid negativity, since they like to do that a lot, not listening to actual criticism, only criticism that they agree with, which ain't really criticism then, is it? If you agree with the people saying stuff, well, whatever. But on another note, Ubisoft has some upcoming titles planned. Ubisoft currently has the following projects scheduled to release in 2026 and 2027. Project Over, the next mainline Ghost Recon game. Project X, the next mainline Assassin's Creed game. Now we all know all the rumors swirling around it being filled with a lot of not so good stuff for games in Hex, but I won't say nothing more than that. We'll see when it comes closer if there's gonna be even a slither of a stench of the usual unniceness in the game. We'll be able to tell instantly. Project North, a Splinter Cell remake. Now with the Ubisoft remakes, I'm not sure whether that's a good idea considering the current studio and their track record of releasing games. I'm not sure they can make a remake that even upholds to the old version of the game. I genuinely think that they'll just screw it up and release a broken mess like any other remake has been. But we'll see. Project Blackbird, the new mainline Far Cry game. Haven't heard much about it. Project Maverick, a new Far Cry extraction-based shooter. And they have, in quotes, I have a feeling this might get cancelled. I'm of the same opinion as whoever wrote this article. It's for sure gonna get cancelled. There's no way they're gonna go with an extraction-based shooter of Far Cry. And I genuinely think extraction shooters is just overfilled at this point. There's too many. All of them are fighting for the same audience, and unless they can offer something fresh and new, they're not gonna keep a player base. The player base that enjoys extraction shooters might play it at first because it's a new game, but then they might realize that it's not even better than their previous shooter where they've made progress already, invested hours or hundreds upon hours, and they'll just go back to playing what they used to play, which is why I say that extraction-based shooters or any live service game that is the same as any other is just what that game offers over the older one where you already made a significant time investment or even monetary investment. What do you offer as the new game that makes it so good that I will switch from the previous one? And if you don't have an answer for that question with your game will not succeed. Project Rewind, a Prince of Persia remake. Project Altera is a Animal Crossing-esque type game. Some different for once. I still am amazed how they did not continue Phoenix, but it had such potential, but oh well, it's Ubisoft. Project Crest, a World War II extraction-based shooter, because why you want to make one extraction-based shooter when you can make two? Because if one doesn't succeed, as if the others can succeed. So we don't have those. Plenty around already. Project BG and E2, Beyond Good and Evil 2. In quotes, yes, I know, but it's still happening. At this point, I don't think they're gonna ever release Beyond Good and Evil 2. I just genuinely don't. They keep delaying it, keep saying it's coming, but then it isn't. And at this point, I would be willing to bet that Ubisoft will close as a whole, will shut down the business. Ubisoft no longer will exist before a Beyond Good and Evil 2 would release. And that's the last point in this article is Project Obsidian Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake and Project Invictus Assassin's Creed's multiplayer release dates are up in the air, but we were scheduled to release by the end of 2025. We are pretty much close to end of 2025, so I'll say it right now that ain't no way they're releasing in 2025. Heard nothing about it. As for Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I genuinely think they should just leave the game as is, because what the remakes have taught us is they like to change stuff in the said remakes that were just fine back then, but now with the social messaging nowadays, they might change stuff that's not really for the better. And that will be all for this video today. I'll see you all next time.